All right, guys, I am back. I'm joined by Horace. Horace, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Just trying to stay warm, man. It's the curse of living in Montana and the blessing of living in paradise, you know?
For sure, for sure.
Well, hey, I really just wanted to take a couple minutes here and kind of spotlight and honor you for making big moves, for getting out there, taking action, for hustling, and for getting it done. So I just have a couple questions for you. The first one that we like to start with is what were you running from? Like a lot of people, they're pursuing real estate. They're trying to do deals. They're trying to get financially free. But why were you trying to do that? Was it something about your life that you didn't like? Was it a money thing? Why real estate, man?
Well, I think I had a corporate career where I made pretty good money, low six figures, um, and some shifts and some things changed within the organization where I never liked the job I was doing, but it paid golden handcuffs, as they like to say. Um, and so the company had sold to another company. So now I didn't like the job or the company. So so I left to pursue a career kind of as financial advisor. And long story short, I did a bunch of commission based jobs that just didn't work out well for me financially. So I went from making, six figures to barely making it. And the reality is the jobs where I made the least amount of money, I enjoyed the most. And so I'm like, okay, how can I don't think I'm cut out for what I was doing, working
Sure.
65 hours for six figures, not having control over what I was doing. And quite frankly, I felt like I was smart enough to do something on my own and create something for myself without having to sacrifice the things I enjoy in life, which is my family and travel and things like that. So, long story short, passive income is residual income is, in my opinion, the only way to have true wealth. And so I didn't really see an avenue um, that I enjoyed more, that I liked more, that was uh, more appealing to me than real estate. So
Uh, Absolutely. And I mean, I was just talking about this a minute ago on another interview. I mean, the reality is that what is it, like 80 to 90% of people that are millionaires, do some version of real estate.
for
So
sure,
I mean, why recreate the wheel? Do what everyone else is doing.
absolutely.
So you've been in the kingdom for a little while. You recently did, was it your first deal?
It was my first deal.
So tell us a little bit about that. How much did you make on the deal? Just give us like kind of the overview of the deal itself, kind of how you found it, that type of thing.
Okay, so I posted. I don't remember if you. Well, I don't know if you remember. I posted about this maybe when I first got it under contract. And it was a deal I found driving for dollars. That's honestly, that's the only thing I've done in my whole time. I've never really bought lists or done anything. I just kind of drove for dollars in my spare time. Quite frankly, as a husband and father of soon to be three, sometimes driving for dollars just give me a mental break that I need to just, step away for a second. So I found that I use an app called Deal Machine.
Hmm.
And I saw a house in an area where I had a buyer who was looking in this particular area. So I just focused on driving in those areas and found a 4 unit apartment building that looked vacant. I snapped a picture of it, sent the postcard via Deal Machine, and they called me back. And I had a conversation uh, with the seller. And it's in Cincinnati. He's out in Cali. He's a realtor, actually. Said that he could finish it if he didn't have the right price, but was having contractor issues. I think it was a little bit deeper than what he was telling me, but uh, long story short, if he could get the right price, he would let it go because he just didn't want to have to invest the time and money into fixing it up. So I reached out to my buyer, and I actually I bought Todd Fleming's book a while, maybe a year ago, and I read it while I was working my other job on breaks. But we, I brought him out to the property. The guy selling wanted 80,000. My buyer said that he actually works for a company. Said that they would pay uh, 80, 88, 88,500 for it. So I said, well, great. No negotiation needed to take place, right? I had somebody selling for 80, had a buyer that would pay more than 80, and we just made it work.
Well, it's amazing. I mean, like, so obviously in the kingdom, you know, we've got 500 people or so now. It's amazing how many people purposely, maybe not even purposely, maybe it's like a subconscious thing, but they overcomplicate it. I mean, you did something a very, very inexpensive way to find this lead driving for dollars. You know, and then like you said, I mean, like you were able to solve the seller and the buyer's problem pretty easily. You know, you didn't have to twist anybody's arm and do this like crazy negotiation.
Right.
It's amazing how simple it really can be. You know, as long as you just have open communication with both of them, and you solved two problems at one time, and you made 80. What you said, 8,500.
Yeah, and it was actually, it was a tricky one. If you don't mind me sharing a little bit about
Go ahead.
What I learned in the experience. So I think I mentioned in a previous post that the buyer or the seller was a realtor. He understands wholesaling, but wasn't comfortable with me signing a contract. He wanted a contract with the end buyer.
Mm-hmm.
And so he didn't want to do an assignment. So basically I had to operate on the trust that my buyer wouldn't cut me out of the deal, because legally he could have, right? If he had a contract at this price, he could have just cut me out and I would have ended the relationship with the person. But I said, you know what? I don't have a choice but to go out on faith to make this happen. And so, you know, he ended up coming through. He ended up, we did like an addendum between myself and him, just so I have some documentation that we agreed on something.
Yeah.
And then at closing, he ended up paying me the fee involved. And so it worked out. It's not ideally how you want to do it. I sweated the whole time because I didn't know if this guy was ethical or whatnot, but he seemed pretty ethical. And at this point, it was the only way to get the deal done. So I just moved on it.
Well, I mean, you've got to do whatever you can, man. And you know, relationships huge. And I know you hear us preaching about that constantly, but that trust with the buyer now is so much. I mean, like, you guys have done it. You know, you guys have done a transaction. You guys basically had a situation where you both had to have a little bit of trust.
Sure.
But going back, I mean, next time that you deal with that buyer, it's going to be 10 times better, and there's going to be that much more trust.
Sure.
Like you said, there's a little bit of risk when you do it that way. I've only ran into that a couple of times, but the people that tried to like cut somebody out of the deal, and dude, they went out of business so quick because the real estate investing community, it's pretty tight knit, especially like people that are actually playing the game. So like, imagine like in Cincinnati, you know, imagine that there's a real estate investing group, you know, and you show up and there's 100 people there, and you say, hey, Jordan cut me out of this deal. You know, he owes me $8,500 and he was not ethical and he went behind my back and he's a little snake, etc. I mean, that's 100 people that are probably not going to work with that guy. So I think he did the right thing, man. And I'm glad that he did the right thing as well.
Sure.
I didn't realize, I'm going to end this here in just a minute, but I didn't realize you were in Cincinnati. I've got some epic people that are in the kingdom that are in Cincinnati.
Okay.
So I want to make sure I connect you, and I'm actually heading to Cincinnati in between my Arizona trip and my Miami trip. So when we're there, dude, it'll be me, Todd Fleming, and our other business partner, but he lives in Cincinnati as well. So let's make sure we grab dinner. Okay.
Okay. I'm down with that. Sure.
So I've got two more questions for you. So you just did a deal. You got $8,500 in your pocket. What's next, man? What's the big picture? Like, where do you want to be 6 months from now? I know you mentioned passive income a little bit.
Sure.
What's like the 6 to 12 month plan here?
Well, you know, financially, I am employed, but I was in a pretty tight spot. So this deal helps me out in ways that, you know, I almost teared up thinking about some of the things that I would be able to do to kind of was stressing me out financially, right? And my wife, for that matter. And so really just to have that pressure off of me for a little bit is nice. I think that first deal was just like proof that it works, proof that it can be done. I have established a better relationship with somebody in the real estate community. The next thing for me, I think I always wholesale or use wholesale as an exit strategy, because I think if you find these deals, whether you wholesale or keep them or whatever, you're getting them at the lowest entry point from a cost standpoint. So I like that. I like hunting for those deals. Long term, my goal is to get into rentals, multifamily rentals. Certainly, if I have an opportunity to do one via owner finance or some type of creative deal, I'll jump on that. I tend to subscribe to the philosophy that if it comes, you jump and you kind of learn as you go. Don't pass nothing up. But that's the next step. Systematize, figure out how to create more consistent deals with wholesaling, and then eventually, start a rental portfolio.
There's a really natural progression. I went through it. You're probably going to go through it. I know Todd Fleming went through it, but the natural progression kind of goes like this. You start to do some wholesale deals. You get your systems, your process, your procedure. You start rolling, and you start to automate everything. Well, when you do that on the marketing side, you're going to start having all this marketing coming in, and you're going to be able to identify, oh man, that guy just said he just wants out of it. Well, you're going to start to see these opportunities where maybe it's a lease option or a subject to or an owner financing where they want like $2,000 down and we'll finance the rest. Sure. So it's cool that you're saying, look, I'm gonna continue to do the wholesaling and I'm gonna systematize it, but I also have this secondary ulterior motive where, look, I want to try to keep some of these, but you can't do that unless you're talking to people. So I think it's really cool that you're getting that going. Final question. There's going to be people that watch the replay of this, etc. But somebody that's considering maybe joining the kingdom, kind of coming into the family, coming into the realm, would you recommend the kingdom, and what would you say to the person that's kind of on the fence right now?
I definitely would recommend the kingdom. One, I think the biggest thing that I would say is ethically, the kingdom aligns with how I move as a person. The kingdom always preaches doing the right thing. The system in terms of finding a buyer first. When I talk to other friends who wholesale, they think I'm crazy when I tell them. But even doing one deal and just my deal looked different than theirs because I went into the transaction knowing that it would close, barring some issues with the title, because a performing buyer that I knew and had a relationship with wanted it. Right. So it wasn't this deal where I had to run around with the contract in my hand at the town hall stairs, waving the contract. And so I just think the philosophy that you teach, and more importantly, the way that you preach ethics, being morally responsible, are why I like being in the kingdom. It's $75 a month. It's worth more than that. Certainly the mentorship and the relationships. The fact that I can sit out there and just ask a question and I have people who I would never have access to, knowledge that I would have to pay for, available to me, is really powerful. And so I don't know if you have any visions of being serious about real estate, why you wouldn't take the opportunity to pay a small amount of money on a monthly basis for so much knowledge and so much opportunity to learn.
Awesome. And I appreciate that. For anybody that does watch the replay, notice a couple things about not only the deal that Horace just did, but kind of the vision of the ethical part. Guys, if you solve problems for people, and if you connect people that have a problem that they need to get rid of and a buyer, guys, I'm telling you, it starts to go really, really quick. Horace, I'm excited to see what you do in the next 6 months. Greatly appreciate you taking a couple minutes here on a Saturday to talk, man.
Likewise, I appreciate your help, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in Cincinnati.
Oh, man, it's going to be a blast, buddy.
All right, take care.